A successful wildcard in Gameweek 6 gives us our 4th green arrow in a row and sees us inside the top 1 million for the first time this season. What is up everyone, how's it going? FPL Era here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at my Gameweek 7 Team Selection and we're also going to take a look at your questions ahead of Friday night's deadline. We also have a Gameweek 8 bench boost on the mind, so we're also going to take a look at how I'm shaping up ahead of Gameweek 8 and what 15 players I'll have in my team to get me up in the ranks even more. We've lots to discuss, let's get into the video. So before we get into today's video, 70 likes is the goal, so head on down there, give the video a like, and we're so close to hitting 8k subs on the channel. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed already, head on down there, do us a solid, click subscribe, and let's hit this milestone together. We're going to take a look back at our Gameweek 6 wildcard review, so if you don't really care how I got on last week, I don't blame you. Now's your time to skip this segment. But we scored 70 points for the week. We only had 4 players returning in Haaland, Senesi, Semenyo and Gabriel. We're going to start off with the early kickoff, Man United against Brentford. Bruno Fernandes coming away with a -1 return after missing a penalty and picking up a yellow card. With those 2 penalty misses from Bruno, we've missed out on about 20 points, and if Bruno converted those penalties against Fulham and Brentford, he'd be ranked 2nd in midfielders in the game, just behind Semenyo, and what a different narrative we'd have on him in the game. Here's a short story. I was at a wedding in Waterford at the weekend and the man sitting in front of us was watching the Man United game during the wedding ceremony, so I was able to keep an eye on the match and the wedding ceremony itself. But after Bruno missed that penalty, I stopped watching that game and the wedding ceremony was definitely a better viewing. Erling Haaland left it late at the Etihad, coming away with 2 goals in stoppage time for a monster 16-point return, 32 points from the armband or 48 points from the triple captaincy. So if you did triple captain him, fair play, you came out on top this week. By using the wildcard, I of course couldn't use my triple captaincy, but it also meant I could bring in Gabriel for his bullet header at that winner against Newcastle for a 13-point return, which pretty much blocks out that triple captaincy from Haaland, or maybe that's what I'll keep telling myself. Semenyo continued on his fine form with another goal away to Leeds, and Senesi made it 6 DEFCONs in 6, and I also picked up a late assist in that Leeds game for another return, or my first return from Senesi from bringing him in on the wildcard this week. The rest of the team, there wasn't much to shout about, 2s all around. The only positive note was the fact Van Dijk came out with DEFCON a couple hours after the game, so he was on 0 points, but that DEFCON put him up to 2 points. All in all, 70 points of the week. Was a great week on the wildcard, and we're now inside the top 1 million, ranked at 966k overall. Let's move on now and start planning ahead for Gameweek 7. Of course, we played our wildcard in Gameweek 6, but I've got a few questions regarding my chip strategy for the rest of the first half of the season. We're currently eyeing up a bench boost in Gameweek 8. If you watch my deadline stream on Saturday when I was locking in my wildcard, I've currently got a bench of Dubravka, Esteve, Mukelele and Caicedo. Looking at the fixtures in Gameweek 8, Burnley are at home to Leeds, Sunderland are at home to Wolves and Chelsea are away to Nottingham Forest. So looking at those fixtures, I've got some decent chance of clean sheet potential out of my double Burnley defence and Mukelele at home to Wolves. Looking at Caicedo, we're probably looking more towards DEFCON points in that game. I'd be happy enough if he came away with 4 points. Look at my Burnley defensive assets. At least Esteve has got his game week of hell out of the way with that poor performance against Man City with 2 own goals, setting up Haaland for his last goal. He still only managed to come away with a -2 after he picked up some DEFCON, so fingers crossed he can get some DEFCON in that fixture at home to Leeds. Looking at the bench boost, anything double digits, I'd be happy enough with that, and hopefully we can get up the ranks with that bench boost in Gameweek 8. On to the triple captaincy then. If I'm looking to free hit in Gameweek 15, I'm probably going to triple captain with Mo Salah at home to Sunderland in Gameweek 14, and then my free hit, probably the pick of the fixtures are in Gameweek 15. Man City at home to Sunderland, Liverpool away to Leeds, and Newcastle at home to Burnley. So I'm more than likely going to be loading up on Newcastle, Liverpool and Man City players. They're probably going to be the foundations of my Gameweek 15 free hit team, and then I can fill in the blanks with the rest of the players in that free hit week. That's the chip strategy anyway. Let's move on and start planning ahead for Gameweek 7. So let's shift our focus to Gameweek 7, and here's your questions ahead of the deadline on Friday evening. Starting off with question number 1, should we be selling Bruno Fernandes? Well, 2 penalty misses so far this season, the guts of 20 points dropped over those 2 penalty misses. As I spoke about earlier on the video, if Bruno Fernandes converted those 2 penalties, he'd be the 5th highest scored player in the game, and he'd also be the 2nd highest scoring midfielder just behind Semenyo. Looking at the fixture, Sunderland at home this weekend, I do think it's an easy keep for Bruno Fernandes in the team. Save your free transfer, and then after the international break, Man United play Liverpool. You can then offload Bruno Fernandes and look towards the likes of Cole Palmer, if Palmer is back fit. Chelsea away to Nottingham Forest in Gameweek 8, and then you'll be eyeing up that potential captaincy for Palmer in Gameweek 9. So let's see if he'll be back fit for those games. But for now, keep Bruno Fernandes in your team. I do think he can do well against Sunderland this weekend. I was actually considering captaining him this weekend, but after seeing that Brentford game, I won't be giving him the armband, and we'll speak about the captaincy later on in the video. Next up is what to do with João Pedro with no shots in 3 games for the Brazilian striker. He is up against Liverpool at the weekend, and at the time of this recording, we're actually recording while the Champions League games are going on Tuesday night, so he has been rested in that game, which is good to see as a João Pedro owner, so he should be fine to start this weekend. But with no shots in 3 games, it begs the question, what should you be doing with him? He's an easy keep. Chelsea have a good run of fixtures from Gameweek 8 until Gameweek 16, and if Palmer isn't back in Gameweek 9 for that fixture against Sunderland at home, João Pedro is probably the best shout for the captaincy this week. So hold firm on João Pedro, keep him in your teams. There will be returns sooner rather than later. The use of a free hit chip in Gameweek 7 seems to be fairly popular amongst FPL managers, and if you're looking to use your free hit this week, I'll be loading up on Semenyo and Senesi in that game on Friday evening. Looking at the fixtures on Saturday, I'll be going with triple Arsenal, double defence, and one of Saka or Gyökeres. Ignore the rest of the games on Saturday, and then looking at the games on Sunday, after his goal last week, you could probably look towards Ollie Watkins with his fixture at home to Burnley. Then I'll be looking towards double Newcastle defence, with Nottingham Forest struggling since the start of the season, and then finish off with Reinders and Erling Haaland. That's pretty much the foundations of a Gameweek 7 free hit team. And if you are looking to use your wildcard in Gameweek 7, you're probably regretting not activating it in Gameweek 6. But if you are looking to activate it in Gameweek 7, a Gameweek 7 wildcard team is pretty much identical to a Gameweek 6 wildcard team. So you've already seen my team, copy that team, and you'll be set for the weekend. And to finish off, for a best Livermento replacement, if you don't have Senesi of Bournemouth, we've already spoken about him, 6 DEFCONs in the first 6 game weeks, I'll be going for Livermento to Senesi. Or if you can't afford Senesi after he's priced at nearly 5 million now, you probably look towards a sideways move of going from Livermento to Dan Burn, with some good fixtures for Newcastle over the next couple of game weeks. That's your Gameweek 7 questions out of the way. Let's move on and have a look at my team ahead of Friday night's deadline. So before we get into my Gameweek 7 team selection, quick reminder to give the video a like. 70 likes on this video is the goal. And while you're down there, if you are watching and you haven't subscribed, we're so close to hitting 8k subs. So if you wouldn't mind, click and subscribe and helping me hit that milestone. Looking at my Gameweek 7 team selection, we're going to start off with double Arsenal defence at home to West Ham. Gabriel coming off the back of Gameweek 6 with a 13-pointer. I'm confident Arsenal can get a clean sheet in this game. At the time of this recording, it is Tuesday night, and Arsenal do still have to play on Wednesday evening in the Champions League, so fingers crossed Raya and Gabriel can come out of that game injury-free. I'm happy to have Senesi at home to Fulham. 6 DEFCONs, as we already spoken about, for Senesi in the first 6 games, so let's see if he can get another DEFCON to make it 7 and 7. And then looking towards Van Dijk, he didn't get the clean sheet against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace could have scored even 3 or 4 against Liverpool at the weekend, but with Van Dijk, maybe this is the weekend he gets his first attacking return of the season, which could be a very important game at the top of the table come May. Moving on to my 4-man midfield, we're going to start off with Bruno Fernandes at home to Sunderland at Old Trafford this weekend. Fingers crossed Cunha can actually pass on the ball and not be greedy and set up Bruno for a few chances. And also, if Bruno Fernandes is still on penalties, let's see if he can slot one away. I do think this Sunderland is a game he can do well for the DEFCON. Obviously in that Brentford game at the weekend, he just about missed out on the DEFCON, coming away with 11. But I'm confident he can come away with some DEFCON points and give us a parting gift if we do look to get rid of him after the international break. On to Semenyo then on Friday evening. Only 1 blank all season for the Bournemouth man. On set pieces, on penalties, he's absolutely great value at 7.8 million. If you don't have him, what are you doing? Get him into your team. On to Reinders then. It was probably a small bit disappointing that he didn't come away with a return after Man City scored 5 against Burnley. He did have 1 shot on target. He was playing slightly deeper than we would like to see him play in that game, but Brentford are fairly leaking goals at the moment, and at that price tag we can't really complain much about Reinders, so he's in the team. And then finishing off with Ndiaye, he was kept quiet against West Ham on Monday evening. I don't expect him to get too many returns the way Crystal Palace have started the season then as well, but let's see how he gets on in that game on Sunday, and fingers crossed for a return. João Pedro, Erling Haaland and Gyökeres complete my starting 11. We're going to start off with João Pedro. At the time of this recording, we are recording when the Champions League games on Tuesday are currently ongoing. João Pedro was left on the bench at the start of that Benfica game, but he has since made a cameo from the bench. There's about 20 minutes left in that game, so fingers crossed he can stay injury free and be fit for the weekend. On to Erling Haaland then. I'm still not fully locked in on the captaincy. Maybe I could go towards Gyökeres. I was considering Bruno Fernandes, but I think it's a sensible decision to leave the captaincy on Erling Haaland. I am slightly tempted by Gyökeres at home to West Ham. Even an outside pick out Gabriel after his heroics last week against Newcastle, but we'll probably end up on Erling Haaland come the deadline on Gameweek 7. As I said, Arsenal still have to play on Wednesday evening, so let's see if my players can get out of that game injury-free. But for now, we're looking to roll the transfer ahead of Gameweek 7, and then we'll have 3 free transfers once the international break is over, coming into Gameweek 8 with our bench boost in mind. If you've made it to the end of this video, please give it a like, drop a comment below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's hit a like goal of 70 likes on this video, and we're so close to hitting 8k subs. So if you are still watching at the end of this video and you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Head on down there, click subscribe on the channel and help us to get that milestone. Be very much appreciated. I'll see you all on Friday evening for a Gameweek 7 deadline stream. Thanks for watching. Best of luck for the week. I'll see you in the next video.